Hi guys, so the eruption is still going. So far so good, I would say. The Icelandic MET Office has released a map where there's an estimate of the flow pattern of the lava. They have flown over today with a helicopter, but it wasn't that easy to really see where the lava exactly is because there's still so much plume and smoke coming from it that really did cover their site. So that's their estimate. You see the current lava carpet, that's the pink area, the gray ones, that's the older areas. And then you can see that eruption, how long, like a zipper, how long it was breaking open. So that is definitely something. And then you see the red lines, right? That's where all the fissures opened and the lava was spewing out. And you see how close it is coming to the edges of the defense walls there. This eruption was really getting close to the north eastern edge of these defense walls where the lava had breached the defense walls before in the past. And there were some announcements yesterday that the lava did breach the defense wall, the outer defense wall there again, and then did fill up the spaces between the old defense wall and the new defense wall. I don't see it from that aerial picture here, but it seems that this pink area is not 100% correct. Also, if you look at the western area, the tip that's there, the southernmost tip, the Chief of the Civil Defense has said it did cross the road there, but that it did also reach the sea there. That's what he said in an interview this morning. So that's not reflected in this map yet. So I guess it'll take some time until they really know where exactly the lava is once the smoke clears out a little bit. For sure, it has flown over Grindavik at the doorsteps of Grindavik quite a bit. If you see there, it's been flowing around Mount Thor there, and really a long stretch of the road this time of Grindavik. And then thankfully there were these defense walls, because overall, had there not been any defense walls also in the January and previous eruptions, Grindavik would already been done by now. It would have been completely destroyed by lava, because this eruption this time was flowing very fast, and they're saying that from that magma chamber underneath Swartsengi already, guys, more than like 15 million cubic meters have flowed out of this magma chamber. So that's a lot when we know between the last eruption, when that last eruption ended, and now it was filling up to almost like 20 million cubic meters. So with that came land subsidence. We know the land has been rising all the time underneath Swartsengi, underneath the power plant and the Blue Lagoon. And of course, now that this balloon underneath it that has been filling up with magma is emptying out, the land is sinking again. And it did already sink 15 centimeters. So that's a lot. That is really a lot. And that, of course, puts some stress on the crust there as well. So now we have to wait and see, will the land start rising again? Because right now, yes, it did sink a lot, but it's somewhat by the book. That's what Vidar Reinesen says, the head of the civil defense, and also some geologists. You can compare it with the last eruptions. Of course, this one was way more powerful, way more lava at the beginning, and fast flowing lava. So, but it is slowing down. It did start. It took it about an hour and a half to reach its peak. And at that time, the lava was flowing out at a rate of like 2,000 cubic meters per second. And that has slowed down significantly. Right now, we'll talk about this in a minute. So it's still going. They don't know exactly how many spots are still going, as I just said, because of the smoke. So it looks more isolated. They're saying it's the most lava is coming out in the Hagafell area, so closer to Grindavik. but it seems that nothing is being threatened as of now. It seems the defense walls are holding. Also the lava, it seems it has crossed Grindavik in the Swartsengi area. It's still flowing a little bit, but it's not progressing any further. So probably what will happen now is what happened with the last eruption, that the lava is starting to build layers on top of each other. So it was quite scary when it began, and it was looking quite scary, like a dragon that was forming. And then in the Hagafell area, it was reaching some groundwater and was getting really explosive, and big smoke and explosions. And that's what you can expect if it hits the sea, and even worse because there's more water. But it doesn't look like in the east, Sudostrandavegur, that's the only road that's still open, doesn't look like that it's hitting anything there. So this road is currently open. And then we know the lava was threatening. There's an US Navy installation with some masts there. It was doing some destruction there. There was a defense wall for that area. I'll show you a little bit more here in the aerial picture. So some of that was destroyed. We don't know exactly how much yet, so we're still waiting for aerial pictures there as well. Of course, there's gas pollution, and so there's gas pollution forecast. So it seems it's blowing west as of now. And of course, when the eruption began, they were updating their hazard area map. So zone 7 is now red as well, because it was flowing to the west of Grindavik. Of course, there's gas pollution as well. And then the deep purple area, that's the eruption area. And there you also see the length of the eruption. They have to upgrade this. It was going even longer, as you've seen on the other map. But that's the current state of hazard level that they're having. So the zone 7 did go from considerable risk to high risk. Basically, risk is very high in all areas, and of course super high in the purple area. The mayor of Grindavik was much happier this morning than he was when the eruption started. When the eruption started, he was very concerned, and he was having doubts whether the defense walls would hold that massive flow of lava, but they did so far. So he said this morning that defense walls have withstood the onslaught of the eruption that started yesterday. So he says, I'm quite happy with the current situation compared to how it looked at the beginning of the eruption the other day. Grindavik is without electricity, but there's both hot and cold water, and it seems there has been no further damage to their piping system, which is great. There's only one way into town, as we just said, from the east. And plans have been set in motion to improve what needs to be improved, and it will take the longest. There's the high voltage power lines. They have been highly damaged, so that will take the longest. And then of course the roads, as you've seen, Grindavik has been damaged by the lava in quite a long stretch, but they're saying we have good experience, and it's possible maybe to lay a new road, make a new path, and build a road over the newly developed flowed lava there. The roads authority, on the other hand, is giving a note of caution and says it's not quite easy to build new roads at this time. Of course, the eruption is still going, lava still flowing, and the lava remains hot for quite a while, and they're saying it's not as easy as it used to be. This needs to be looked at more closely before we're taking any action. Mike, makes absolute sense. They're letting companies back into Grindavik. That's what the police chief Olfa Ludvigsson has said. So the plan is to let them back into Grindavik to save their valuable items. It looks like there is not that much damage, not many new fissures, sinkholes, or anything in Grindavik. So the aim is to let the companies in there to save their valuable stock and items such as seafood, because mainly operations were going in the port, whereas the fish fish processing plants, so they have frozen produce there that they probably want to ship out and save. They only have one road, so if they want to go to the Reykjavik area, they have to go like quite the detour there. Then the University of Iceland was able to already take samples of the lava. You see, they have posted this. It seems they have new equipment, new suits against the heat, and new buckets. That's what they're saying in this post. So it'll be interesting to see once they release their results from if that lava is comparable to the previous ones, and maybe they can tell where it's coming from, because this volcanic system has given us a little bit of a head scratch recently, because the previous eruption had been taken so long, and like from March 16th to May 9th, and the magma chamber had been behaving a little bit differently during that eruption. So is that lava coming from the magma chamber mostly, which we think, because we know the land did subside, but is it coming from the deeper magma reservoir also right now? So they can tell if they analyze this lava, and they will compare it to Fagradalsfjall, of course, as well. And then there were sheep left behind again. So the Animal Protection Association of Iceland was very concerned, especially when this eruption started and how fast the lava was flowing, because there were sheep outside of Grindavik, still very, very close to Grindavik. I can't tell you exactly where they were, but the organization has said that they have repeatedly told animal owners, the police, and public safety that animals should not be brought back to Grindavik after evacuations, but some people have gone against those instructions, and we know there's some indoor sheep operations going. There's some farmers, I reported about this in one of my last videos, to the east of Grindavik that said we're staying, we haven't left our farm since the new eruption was imminent, to take care of their animals. They'll be fine. The lava did not flow in their area. And guys, you know, if you have a commercial sheep operation and you have a couple hundred sheep, to evacuate them, you have to find another place where you can put these in. It's not that easy. So I have an understanding for these farmers or operations that they have come back to their facilities, because where else, it's not that easy. There are reports that there are animals and sheep that are sitting inside a fence both east and west of Grindavik. So west of Grindavik, we have to see. I hope nothing happened. The animal operation, they did request that immediate action would be taken and that the animals would be rescued from these dangerous situations. They said they are in great danger due to gas pollution and lava flow. If it did enter Grindavik, so it did not so far. So what I take from it, I think the sheep did not suffer from any lava flow. Of course, the situation would have been dire if Suðurstrandarvegur on the east had been closed by the flowing lava, and then nobody would have been able to get in that area. So it seems they're quite closer inside Grindavik. So then a big problem, who's taking care of these animals? They would have to go by water. And then the organization says animals are sentient beings with feelings and a soul. They're not objects, and therefore it's so important that they would be rescued. And of course, I agree. And then they're saying, according to the law on animal welfare in Iceland, whoever notices an animal in distress is obliged to rescue it. And I fully agree with this. You know, guys, I have a farm, I have animals, so I hope the sheep are fine. I hope the gas pollution didn't hurt them too much. And some farmers went to Grindavik today to pick up the sheep that were left in town when it was evacuated, and that is really good. And there were already photographers and journalists that were allowed to drive around town today. We know that they have been fighting for the rights to document this and for access, so it seems they're having that access now. They did let the fish processing employees back in. They were first responders into town, but other than that, they said there was not a soul to be found. But in the eastern part of the town, they found a father and a son, and they were transporting sheep from the farm together with some other family members, and they're taking the sheep to Reykjavik into the mountain area, and because they're saying it's not good to have them here for a long time when everything is closed. So they're saying they have a special enclosure there at Reykjavik for the sheep. So these sheep are fine. So that seems to be the eastern part. And of course, reporters were coming when they found them. And then the reporters were asking, why are the sheep still in Grindavik? Yeah, I'm asking this too. If they do have another pen somewhere else, they are saying that's what the sheep owners answered. They say we first took them to Reykjavik, to the stable there for part of the winter, but the sheep could not be there when the lambs started to give birth. So that's why we brought them here, just to carry out their babies. There are no conditions in a stable to let them have the newborns. They need to be out. That's basically what he says. So there were about 27 lambs and 15 sheep. Those sheep owners did rent a home in Reykjavik, and they stayed in that area since everything had begun on November 10th. So they did bring the sheep back. They say they always intended to move back to Grindavik. They still have a house in town, but they are saying for sure that eruption, that new eruption, certainly has put things in a different perspective, as the lava was only like 100 meters away from their family home. So maybe they will move away now, and maybe they're not bringing the sheep back. But there was trouble with the sheep owners. Again, they were not happy about the animal organization putting them on the spot. So when the police chief of Sudorns declared today that the sheep farmers in Grindavik did receive permission to collect their sheep today, a sheep farmer in Grindavik did criticize the intervention of animal protection organizations, and he said he had no concerns about his sheep. While the air pollution is a concern, so I'm not sure. There were also, this is another report, that there were about 70 sheep and lambs were left behind in a fence in Grindavik when the farm was evacuated yesterday. That's the information that they got from the Icelandic Animal Welfare Association. And the head of Civil Protection Department, Vidar Einarsson, he said in the morning that the animals should not be left there helpless, and that it should be possible to get them out of town. But this other sheep farmer says this is not the first eruption that the sheep have experienced, and therefore he says he's not worried about them. I think, yeah, he's a little bit naive because the air pollution is there, right? But he says, quote, "I'm not afraid that my sheep are in danger." And he did explain to one of the reporters that the sheep were in good condition inside the fence west of the town when the eruption started. So yeah, when it started, but then it did flow quite west, right? So once the lava did start to flow west, the sheep farmer was going down there, and it seems that there he met the fire chief, which was quite a coincidence. So he says it happened that the fire chief was on his way about 50 meters from the gate of my pen, and then he received the notice from the fire chief to open the gate because the lava is coming. So they did let the sheep free, and they were running west, so further west than the lava was. So I don't know how they did, if they had another pen there or something else. This farmer says he's not paying attention to what these animal rights groups are saying, because he says they have been endlessly attacking sheep farmers in Grindavik. And he says the sheep normally interact with all the cracks that are on the land all over the country. And he says it's not such a big case. And yeah, but in this case, the air pollution, as I just said, he says we're taking good care of our sheep, and that's why the result is quite good. You know, I'm always careful with animal rights organization, especially PETA, or how they're called. I think they're hypocrites. I mean, their dog kill pens, it drives me crazy. And you know, you have to be careful with what you support. But you know, to me, it makes sense that the air pollution, that the gas pollution is definitely a factor that could affect these sheep very, very negatively or even kill them. I think they were lucky. Of course, the farmer says, well, not everyone can afford to rent another place for their sheep. And it's not good for the sheep to be in turmoil all the time. So that's why the farmers choose to leave them in Grindavik. And he says for many farmers who had to transport their sheep back and forth, many of them have lost their babies because of that. Of course, it's a lot of stress. And then the farmers are losing money, of course. There was another farmer who had to leave his cows, his cattle in town. How many animals does that little town have? I haven't noticed that many pastures or anything. So he had to leave his cows in town when the eruption started. And there was also a journalist coming in town today and saw the farmer visiting his animals. And the farmer also said that now the cows would be taken to some mountain somewhere. Mountain grazing pasture or something. So it seems the animals are all fine. They're all taken care of. And I think we leave it at that. It's hard enough for those farmers. So I think we should not judge them. And especially not since it seems that they have not received the help that the residential homeowners have received. So businesses have recently complained about that, and they feel left alone, that, you know, the residential properties are being bought out, but not the businesses, and they're struggling, of course. And of course, then there are calls that the natural disaster insurance needs to be amended, and the natural disaster insurance has a big problem right now because they had to pay out or still have to pay out so much money for these homes that are being bought out by the government after the disasters happened, and they're nearly broke. So will there be money left if there's another incident happening in Iceland somewhere else, which is all the time in the winter, avalanches and stuff like this, and there's lots of volcanoes there as well. So yeah, I was expecting that this is a problem. So probably that's why they're also hesitant to buy out businesses or to increase the amount of structures that they have to buy out, because it seems like they probably can't anymore. One thing we know for sure about this eruption, it was the most powerful eruption of all these eruptions that happened since November 10th, since that 15-kilometer long magma dike was formed. So the most powerful and the most fast flowing lava. This time it was really up to speed, flowing very, very fast, reaching Grindavik very, very fast, and basically surrounding Grindavik by lava. So we will have to see how long this one's going to take. The magma chamber has lost a lot of its fill. So now, will it balance out? So that flow that used to come from the deeper magma reservoir, will that take over now and feed this eruption? So will it keep going for weeks and over a month again like the last one did? Or will it die down after a few days like the previous eruption before the March 16 eruption? So we will have to wait and see. It looks like there's 6 craters still working, and then will they die down over the next few days? I don't expect it to get stronger again. I would not know why, because there's a lot of pressure that's out of that underground magma chamber. So probably the lagoonies can open up pretty soon. I'm sure they will. This time they have evacuated in time before the eruption started. There were some reports that they started evacuation after the eruption started. I think this was false information, because I was there before. I saw the earthquake swarms before the eruption occurred, and there were also the announcements that Grindavik and the Blue Lagoon would be evacuated. And it seems the Blue Lagoon was evacuated around 11:50, and before then the eruption started at 1 p.m. So 11:50 a.m. I think everyone was out of the Blue Lagoon, thankfully, and then the eruption started, which was a good thing. You know that I was always criticizing that they waited till the last minute. I mean, they waited till the last minute again. They were just lucky this time that the earthquake swarm gave them a warning and that the magma needed to grind a little bit longer to find a way to the eruption site, so that the warning time was stretched out a little longer. Than the previous eruptions, it was earthquake swarm, boof, right? So this is an indication that these magma tunnels that were going from the magma chamber to the eruption site had been clogged somehow. So the magma needed to do a little bit of mining work to get through the eruption site again. And that's why there was a good warning time for everyone to evacuate and get out. So guys, this was my update for today. There'll be another update about Campi Flegrei in Italy that is rumbling as well. The earthquakes keep coming. And of course, there'll be continuous updates about Grindavik and Iceland as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you very, very soon. I need a coffee right now. Thanks. Bye-bye.